And then Emily's like, no, Aunt Jess, Dad's just helping with a project about stereotypical gender roles in the media, okay? What? All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I'm your host, KiramidHead.
And I'm Shadow.
Get over here. As you could tell from that horrible Ed Boon impersonation, we are going to be covering a Mortal Kombat script tonight. And it is a relatively recent script for a reboot film dated to 2016. And I could not tell you who wrote it because there's 5 writers listed on the damn thing. But the basic overall plot of this, before we get into like the little bit of backstory we're going to cover, is that it's about a hard luck boxer from Philadelphia named Cole something or other. I forget his last name. Let me check my notes. Cole Turner, and he's this guy who's lost 45 matches in a row, and his only trainer is like his teenage daughter. And he gets approached by a bunch of people saying he's got to fight in Mortal Kombat, which is this battle to save the world. And notice I did not say tournament. And he meets a bunch of the Mortal Kombat characters, kind of. And there's a bunch of globe-trotting and a bunch of shit happening, and that's it. Sums it up, doesn't it?
Pretty much.
And
yeah, so, that's all it is.
And just so to backtrack on Mortal Kombat a little bit, so the games are fun. They're fighting games. They are what they are.
Definitely. I mean, they've been fun for over 20 damn years.
And and the characters are memorable, and they made the only good one of the very, very few good video game movies so far. And the best of them, which is the first Mortal Kombat movie, which is a lot of fun. I mean, I'm
just laughing because it's like, holy shit, they haven't even topped that yet.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a difficult movie to top. I mean, it's good, but you can see the room to improve on what they did there.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's a good movie. Annihilation, not so much, but I'm going to go easy on that movie just because what we're going to be covering tonight has kind of changed my outlook just a little bit. I've not seen the prequel TV series where it's.
I have, so I can. So if you need me to talk about that, I
talk
can.
about it real briefly.
You want me to talk about it now?
Yes, real briefly.
All right. So the TV show. Well, I'm guessing you mean MK Conquest. Well, the TV show's basically it's a prequel to the movies, pretty much. I mean, or maybe not, but it's pretty much that. And it follows Kung Lao and like a thief and a warrior / bodyguard and Raiden, while they all defend Earthrealm from the forces of Outworld. And, pretty much every character shows up. You got Shao Kahn, who's also played by the dude who's playing Raiden. So that's amazing because if you don't know that, you honestly can't tell. And, you got Scorpion showing up in there. You have Sub-Zero. You got Shang Tsung. You got new characters. Like, they sometimes very briefly show, like, CG Shokan warriors. Well, when they transition to the mines,
I'm just imagining
to the Shokan mines.
I'm just imagining.
Yeah, it's like real brief, dude. You can't even you can't even blink or else you'll miss it. And that overall, it only lasted a season, but it at least respected the damn source material and actually used the characters as they should be, compared to this script that we've both just read.
Yeah.
This is like, goddamn. It's almost embarrassing that the show did a better job.
And since then, we got into 2 reboot games, which I played MK9, which was the reboot, which I thought was really good. I also played versus DC Universe, but we could go on for ages talking about DC stuff. So let's just leave that to the side for now. And
yeah,
I've only just started playing Mortal Kombat X. I played the first 2 chapters of story mode, liking it so far, but I hated how the Kotal Khan chapter was like, we're going to stay in the Outworld market for like an hour. Give me a different stage.
Yeah, you're there for a long ass time.
Give me a different stage, damn. Let me fight on the roofs or something like you could do in Injustice. But no, I mean, I think it's pretty good so far. I think it's kind of ridiculous that Johnny Cage can beat Shinnok single-handedly, but
yeah, but you know, Johnny's now the champion of Earthrealm.
Oh, that is true.
Anyway,
I've forgotten a lot of the details of 9. It's been years,
which is amazing to me, man. Like this dork of a character. But I love him, man. So I was like, fuck yeah, about time he got his due.
Because I was playing X, and I'm like, wait a minute, who was dead again? I can't remember. And then you see like all these zombies show up. It's like, oh yeah, everyone's dead.
Yeah, freaking everybody, just because Raiden completely fucked it all up.
The only reason I haven't gone back and played through all of MK9 story mode again recently is just because I just remember that last fight being a bastard. But
oh man, dude, that took me 2 hours.
That took me forever too.
I had to cheese it.
The only way I did it was by making Raiden like do his like his fucking like Superman move into Shao Kahn's back like a million times.
Yeah. That's the only way, man.
Shao Kahn's a bastard. I heard the final boss in MKX is nothing compared to him. So, but again, that game did some.
Yeah, it's nothing.
But again, 9 also did some crazy shit like making you fight Goro and Kintaro at the same time.
Oh, Jesus, right?
Yeah, and just and handicap matches like that, like the 1v2 matches were generally kind of bullshit. But no, those games were fun, and I remember the Mortal Kombat Rebirth short film, which was the Nolanized, I guess you can say, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Which that was what Tanker Rowan's first Mortal Kombat thing he did.
Yeah, Rebirth was like the thing that he did out of nowhere, and then WB or whatever, they were like, fuck it, let's bring him in to do like a web series, and then that did good. But then for some reason they gave it a lower budget, so they're like, no, they gave season 2 a lower budget.
That's why the costumes look like shit.
Season 2 is what it is. Which the only good part was probably just Kenshi's story arc, because that's the one that they actually spent like I don't know how many episodes on. So that was fun. And
as far as
Sub-Zero's costume, so bad.
As Ermac's costume. He's just wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, he's just some hooded goblin.
But no, Kenji's. I don't know why we were introducing new characters when we already introduced like 15 in season 1. But then it's like half the characters are played by different actors, and then we get even more Sub-Zero and Scorpion backstory, which we don't really need. And like, I mean, it was cool seeing Mark.
Yeah, that's true.
It was cool seeing Mark Dacascos playing Kung Lao.
Yeah, that was dope. But it just sucks the way that it ended. You know, it was just like on a fucking cliffhanger. Oh, to be continued. Fucking never, dude.
Yeah, never.
Now we just.
Yeah, they went
for
like
years.
Okay.
I've just been like,
they were like, we're gonna do season 3, and they're like, no, we're gonna base it on Mortal Kombat X instead, and it just never happened. And then
that's like so weird.
Somewhere
like
around,
they filmed all of it, and they're like, no.
It was between seasons 1 and 2 that Tanker Rowan was supposed to do. He was signed on to do the reboot movie, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna do it after season 2, and then he left that because of budget disputes, I think.
Yeah, because I remember him like showing off brief snippets of the script that he was working on, and I remember that the only image that I remember, I think it had Cabal and Jax, and I guess they were gonna fight each other or something. Yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, fuck yeah! At least I know it's happening."
I mean, live action.
And then you heard nothing.
Live action.
You heard
Cabal,
nothing of it.
Live action Cabal would be the shit, but. Because the closest we got to that was that one line in Annihilation where I can't remember which character is like, oh, we've taken care of Stryker and Cabal, which is because there was originally a subplot.
Yeah. it's Rain who shows up, and he's like, "Oh, the Cabal and Striker." They're like, I guess they're captured or something. I think they capture them, or they're dead or something.
It's because,
but it's just so bad.
It's because in the script there was this whole subplot about Cabal and Striker being captured and put in like this prison that was run by Baraka, which never got filmed.
That would have been cool. I would have loved to see that, because at least we would have seen a live action Striker with his like freaking hat on backwards, and just to see him looking like exactly how he does in the games,
especially the old
that
games,
would have been worth it for me. Like I wouldn't be talking shit.
Where he's like this middle-aged guy with a porn stash. But no, that interestingly enough, that writer apparently was, I guess he just got rushed into writing a piece of crap like with Annihilation, but yeah, that movie's a whole can of worms. But I guess that leads us into this script. Believe me, we rushed through this background stuff just because there's so much to say about this fucking thing. And it's only 105 pages long. And okay, we have to start at the title page. And it's dated August 2016, so this thing is new. And you just know when the fucking production companies associated with it, two of the three are called Broken Road and Atomic Monster.
Lord.
That just does not scream professionalism. And so, okay, it's Mortal Kombat by Oren Uziel, who was... Okay, I'm gonna pull... I has IMDb page pulled up here. First thing he's credited as writing was Rebirth, and then there was he wrote the Scorpion and Sub-Zero battle episode of season 2 of Legacy, which, okay, that had a cool fatality in it. And he's credited with 22 Jump Street, and I believe I read he worked on the script for 21, but he wasn't credited for his revisions on that. Something called Shimmer Lake, which is a Netflix film he also directed. This is listed, and God Particle, which is I guess that's the thing that's getting turned into Cloverfield 3. Okay.
Ooh.
Now that makes me suggest that to me, this suggests that this draft we have here really isn't anything really has little to do with what he wrote, because sometimes you'll see on scripts there'll be like a name and some revisions underneath it, and the original name is just there as a formality. Like I have the various attempts at Clash of the Titans remake, and the original two writers are on the scripts throughout the process, even though they're not on the movie. Okay, so we get revisions by Randall Wallace. Now, let's pull his page up. Okay, the first film he wrote was Braveheart. And then he wrote...
Oh, man.
He wrote and directed... Which I love Braveheart, but that does not scream Mortal Kombat. He wrote and directed The Man in the Iron Mask with Leo. He wrote Pearl Harbor. The Michael Bay Pearl Harbor. He wrote and directed...
This doesn't make sense, because those movies are like way better than what's going on here.
That's sad that Pearl Harbor is way better than this.
It is, dude.
He also wrote and directed We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson. He wrote a video game called Titan Quest. He directed Secretariat. He wrote and directed Heaven is for Real.
Oh wow! No wonder it's just a steep decline until this fucking script. Like this is where it ends. And I'm gonna scream if the next three names, there's a similar decline, because holy shit.
Okay, there's a ton of TV stuff I left out of there, but okay. Next name, John Swetnam. He wrote Step Up All In. I think that's the one with the flash mobs. And most of these I haven't heard of. The only other one I have is Into the Storm, which is the found footage tornado movie.
Jesus.
He wrote 9 episodes of some TV show called Making Moves, so he's like a dance guy.
All right, that makes sense to me. It's still in line with Tenkaroan.
Okay, and next writer, Dave Callahan, who I know a little bit. This guy's done some stuff. He wrote his first theatrical credit it was a movie you might have heard of. It was the adaptation of Doom with The Rock.
Ooh.
which, as far as video game movies go, is not in the bottom tier exactly, which is kind of saying something. And he wrote a couple movies. There's a movie called Horsemen with Dennis Quaid, which is always popping up on Netflix, and I've never watched it.
Oh yeah,
it's just,
I've been meaning to see that since the trailer came out, but I never have.
Yeah, it's just this generic like grayscale poster of like Dennis Quaid looking pissed off, and he has a screenplay credit on The Expendables, the first one. Now, the story with this was that he wrote a spec script which Stallone picked up and took over and rewrote it, and there was some legal battles of him trying to get credit for it. So I haven't read his draft. The only drafts out there are Stallone drafts, so who knows what his version is like. And the first Expendables movie is fine, but it should have been way better considering considering it's all these guys getting together. And he has character credits on 2, 3, and 4, even though 4 has only been announced. He has a story credit on the 2014 Godzilla. I have no idea what his draft for that looks like. He created and wrote Jean-Claude Van Johnson, the Van Damme Amazon series.
That's neat, because I've been hearing good things about that.
Yeah, I have too. So maybe he's just. Maybe
so what's happening here?
He's just he just.
This is step. These are steps up, man.
Here's a bunch of things that he's that are either in pre-production or announced. Zombieland 2. This.
Oh, fuck yeah! What the?
There's something called America the Motion Picture, which all I've been able to gather from the IMDb page is that it's an animated movie from some of the guys who made Archer, and Channing Tatum is voicing George Washington, which kind of makes me want to watch that.
Oh shit, man! So Jesus.
And I
wonder how this dude got involved in this shit.
And this is the interesting one. He's been attached to write Wonder Woman 2.
Oh fuck! Shit, this dude better delete. Don't delete this part of the podcast. Let's not destroy his name.
Wonder Woman 2. Oh god. DCEU struggling to have another success after fuck this league, but. And that brings us that brings us to the final writer on this script, who has had nothing produced. He's attached to 3 things that have been announced: Mortal Kombat, something called Category 6, and get ready for it because you're going to just cringe, untitled Resident Evil reboot.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
It's fucked before it. Yeah, Greg Russo. No. And, there's, related news along the side saying, Mila Jovovich not thrilled about plans to reboot Resident Evil. Resident Evil reboot will be more focused on action than horror, which is nothing new.
Same fucking thing. Fuck that.
Yeah, give us a real Resident Evil movie like the fucking ridiculous Romero script where these guys find zombies and this one dude's like, this is just like Night of the Living Dead.
Shit, that reminds me. There are I think they're also doing a TV show about Resident Evil, but I think it's gonna be more in line with the games, man. So that's just weird to me. Why even bother doing reboot movies? It's just gonna be the same garbage.
They've been talking about doing
which I do enjoy.
They've been talking about doing both of those for 5-6 years now, though they've been saying they're done with Resident Evil for the same amount of time for a decade now. Every time a new movie comes out, it's it's going to be the last one. But they're full of bullshit because the endings are always cliffhangers.
For longer than that, man. Way longer than 10 years. Shit, I was in the 6th grade when the fucking first one came out.
But no, with every other sequel, they're like, oh, this is going to be the last one. And then they end on a cliffhanger, so they're full of shit. But, so that gets us off the title page, finally. And so that means we have to get into the actual script. And for some reason, this thing decides to open in ancient fucking Rome. In the Colosseum. Yeah. With an unarmored gladiator who's called Longhair fighting this guy who's fully armored and with a sword. And, okay, this is just so weird and over the top. The guy shoves his sword through the unarmed guy's arm. And then the unarmed guy, uses the sword while still stuck in his arm to, slice his knees. And then he pummels him. He pummels him into submission. And then the Emperor's like looking
it's
over at this mysterious man in a wide brimmed hat, and it's like, okay, it does this a bunch of times with characters where it's like, ooh, who is this? It's like, obviously it's Raiden.
It's who cares? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and the Emperor puts his thumb down and goes, finish him. And so then Longhair uses the blade that's still stuck in his arm to almost cut his head off, then grabs his head and then rips it off. Oh, no, wait, I'm confusing this with a later fight scene, actually, fuck. No, he turns him into a Pez dispenser. And then rips the medallion. Oh, yeah, he takes the medallion and then he rips the rest of the head off with the spinal column coming out.
They're just like, oh, look at the game, see what we can put in there.
Yeah. And so he picks up this medallion from around his neck, which is a coiled dragon, the Mortal Kombat logo, basically. And so he looks up at Raiden and goes, apparently he looks him in the eyes, and I'm just imagining him just going, would you fuck me? And so there's like tunnels underneath the Colosseum, and Longhair is following Raiden down through the tunnels, and they go through this archway, which has this strange rune marked over the arch. And they end up in this bustling underground marketplace. And then Raiden leads them to a clock tower, and inside the clock tower, there's all these different warriors. There's a Han Dynasty warrior, a massive tattooed Scottish warrior, a female Amazonian champion. Question, mythological Amazons or geographical Amazons? A Persian and a Mayan. 9 in all, and the script doesn't even bother to mention all of them. It just names like 5. And then they all stand in a circle and hold out their fucking medallions, and the eyes on the dragon's glow. And then Raiden's like, "Oh hey," and now the real fight begins. And then title screen, Mortal Kombat.
Awful, absolutely awful, dude.
And it doesn't
because
really
it even says that. Because even the figures are there for the first time too, so I don't know if like Raiden is barely bringing in Longhair and saying, "Oh, guess what? You're in the Mortal Kombat now, even though you have been severely fucked in that fight." It's just I don't know, dude. Like the medallions sort of make sense because like I was thinking of like the Kamidogu from Deception, where Shujinko had to like collect all of these different medallion type of things in order to do something, and then it turns out, oh, never mind. Yeah, that's what happened. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's what this could be or something.
Yeah, something like that. But
loosely,
the only thing in this that's really relevant is the fact that it sets up the medallions, because we don't need to know about the marketplace or the clock tower yet. Like, none of this actually ends up meaning anything in the longer run of the script, so why do we even have this opening? It's just a waste of money recreating ancient Rome.
Right.
And so it smashes to black, and we cut to... There's, like, this weird thing where it's, like, where the screen is still black, and we hear, like, grunting and punches and stuff, but then we find out we're in the modern day. And we get to meet Cole Turner in the South Philly boxing gym, and he's fighting this match against some dude named Ramirez. And his daughter's straight here going like, "You gotta get back up, Dad," but he gets his ass kicked. And there's this whole thing about how like his robe has like the Mortal Kombat logo on the back of it. And the first time reading this, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Who's Cole?
And there's this bit where she's like, "Dad, look at me. How many fingers am I holding up?" And she's holding up four fingers, and he says 3. And she says, "Close enough." And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's not how that worked. If you get hit in the head, I think you see more fingers, not less, because your vision's swimming. I'm like,
that's how fucked up he got.
Yeah, he's fucked up already because he's taking his daughter to these seedy boxing gyms. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's not any kitty diddlers hanging around that will kidnap her or anything.
Good lord, dude. Fuck.
And he goes to talk to fucking Eddie, who's like this, who's the in-house fight promoter named Slim Eddie. And apparently, like, Cole is always taking these last-minute fights that he never gets to prepare for. That's why he always loses. And there's this whole, and there's this whole tortured analogy where he tries to refer to Cole as a dog. It's like, what are you even talking about? Yeah. And he gives him like $5 extra to buy Emily ice cream, and I'm like, dude, it's 2016. Even like the cheapest ice cream you buy from a street vendor doesn't cost $5.
Nah, it is around here. Like, you know, when the ice cream truck rolls around, you could get like more bang for your buck for $5. You could get pretty good shit.
Okay, I was speculating on that.
The most realistic thing.
But that dude just reminded me of that guy from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man who's like, I hired you up for 3 matches. You lasted 2. So
it's just like. Everything's a trope in this fucking thing.
Yeah, everything is. I mean, Cole's just a shitty version of Rocky crossed with Wildcat from Arrow. That guy who they made a big deal out of, and he disappeared halfway through the season.
It's... fuck, dude.
And this guy is like, this is just the most put-upon fucking person on the face of the planet, because he takes his kid home, turns out that he lost custody, and she's living with her grandmother across the river in South Jersey. His wife died of cancer, as we find out. His sister-in-law is like a little bitch who's like calling him names for no reason. And we find out even later that he's like getting evicted from his apartment, which even Rocky didn't get evicted from his shitty apartment. I'm like, what?
Hey, man, it's 2016. It's 2016. Shit costs a lot more.
Yeah, shit costs a lot more, but also it's like we have to make him the biggest underdog imaginable. Like, everybody has to hate this guy except his daughter.
Oh, totally, dude. Totally.
Like, we even get this
like everything goes wrong for this guy.
Like, we get this ridiculous scene where like we establish that his sister-in-law exists, and she's just calling him an asshole. And, like, calling him a loser piece of shit. And I'm like, that's the only introduction we get to her. And she doesn't even need to be in this. She only comes back later because they have to use her laptop.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason for her to be here. Like, this whole scene works fine on its own without her. Like, because he talks to... Doesn't he also talk to, like, the grandma or something?
Yeah, and she's
like,
not perfectly nice.
That makes... Yeah, and that's way better. You could like remove the sister-in-law because that's just like it's just like it distracted me. You know, she just shows up just like yelling at this dude. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the scene's already good enough as it is. No need to add in anybody else here. Like, so what?
And yeah, like the grandmother is understanding he's stuck that maybe he's gonna go get a job in security because boxing ain't working out. And then he leaves all the money with them. He goes back to his apartment. There's an eviction notice taped to the front door that says, "Stop ripping these down, asshole, you're still evicted." And I'm like, if he keeps ripping these down, why don't you just change the locks? And so he goes in there, he's angsting over the pics of his sick wife, and there's like then she's in a wheelchair holding up a sign saying "Never quit, never give up," which is the thing his daughter keeps saying, and I'm like, just puke. I just want to puke at this point because it's so sappy. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's just like they try to make you feel sorry for him. Like, in a way, you kind of do relate because Cole is probably like the most real fucking person in this whole thing, because like this is also the scene where Jax is introduced, and it's just so funny to me because I just the only thing I'm doing in my head is I'm just seeing Jax from MK9, the way he looks in this thing. I'm just like, oh fuck, I can't unsee him, you know, like looking like anything else. So he's just like this giant cube of meat, and he's just talking to Cole like, Cole, we need you for the Mortal Kombats.
What's so weird is that Cole is just like, he's such a complete trope, yet somehow he's the most developed character in this whole thing, and I still don't give a shit. But no, he turns, looks looks in his living room, and there's this big dude standing there, and it's Jax in his full like SWAT uniform, and he's holding up this fucking like this picture of him on like the front page of the sports section, being like, local boxer breaks record, loses 45th straight fight. And I'm like, well, maybe you should have gone to Rocky's house and gotten him to train you like Adonis did, motherfucker. He's like, and for some reason, this was notable enough to make the paper and get a picture. And he's holding it up and he goes like, you see these emblems, man? He's like, I need you for Mortal Kombat.
Instead of just saying, instead of just saying we've been following you for a bit, and well, that doesn't make any sense because they would have picked them up immediately, Yeah, since he's wearing that Mortal Kombat logo on his back, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And he's like Cole's like, oh man, my daughter just like she drew it based on this antique I have, and he pulls one of the medallions out of a drawer, and it's like, oh, my father left this to me right before he walked out when I was 6. I don't even remember what he looks like. And then Jax like picks him up, drags him out of the apartment down to an SUV, just slams him into the SUV along with another cop, where there's like another SUV driving in front of it. And they're driving, and suddenly it starts snowing in mid-June, as Cole helpfully points out to us. And the first SUV.
This is probably like my favorite scene.
It's so ridiculous.
This is my favorite scene in the whole damn thing, dude. I love to me I love this scene because we already know who it is. We already know why it's snowing. We know why shit's about to go down.
Is that
the best thing for me is the fact that
is that how Sub-Zero's powers
Yeah, Sub-Zero shows
does it randomly just I know it's supposed to be Sub-Zero, but are Sub-Zero's powers supposed to just randomly make it start snowing?
Well, I don't think he's shown that level of power yet. But I do know that in MK mythology, Sub-Zero, like you have like this, his final ability is basically like this polar blast, and basically what it does is that you just do this ridiculous combination on your D-pad, and then you press square, and Sub-Zero does that motion where he's about to do the ice ball, but instead of like shooting it out, all of a sudden there's like this white flash on the screen. So basically, any enemies on screen immediately freeze. Plus, also, if you're fast enough, you can also like move forward, and you'll see that even off-screen enemies have gone, frozen. But if you catch up to them before they unfreeze, so that's as close as you ever get in the games to this. But I think this was cool, where it's like it slowly starts snowing, and then shit just goes to hell. But the fact that Sub-Zero doesn't even appear in this scene, it's like he's around, but he's not even doing anything, and everybody's already fucked, which to me is like the most overpowered he's been, because the fuck are they gonna beat him when they have to fight him one-on-one if he could instantly just freeze you without even being on scene?
Yeah, he's
but that's just like me being like I love Sub-Zero, so I don't.
He's like the shark in Jaws, but no, like the SUV in front of him, we don't even see the people in that van, gets frozen solid. They just smash right through it like it's nothing. And then like a huge like icicle comes crashing through the windshield, kills the other SWAT guy. And then Jax is like, oh shit. They start hanging off the side of the bridge, and like their SUV starts freezing, and his arms freeze up to the shoulders. He's like, Cole, get out. And he just like goes like, fine, Sonya Blade. They kicks him over the side of the bridge down the fucking cliff. And you see like his arms shatter, so it's like, oh, he's gonna come back as Jax with the robot arms, which sadly we never got to see Michael Jai White do in Legacy.
Man, dude, can you imagine that shit if Michael J. White actually showed up with bionic robo arms? Man, dude, he'd be unstoppable. Fuck.
No, the real twist would be that he comes back as Spawn.
There you go. For all the fans complaining to Ed Boon to put Spawn in the game, it turns out, oh wait, Spawn's in the web series instead.
And then he got killed by the Joker. That's so fun. I mean, this is a tangent, but it's so hilarious that Spawn just shows up in the Dark Knight, gets killed by the Joker.
Yeah, because for the longest time, that's like the first time that I had seen him since freaking Spawn. Because I hadn't really been following him like in anything else. So when he showed up, I'm like, hey, it's Spawn. It's Simmons.
But but like Cole like falls down the fucking cliff like he's Homer Simpson in that Daredevil episode. Like literally, he's just bouncing down, gets knocked out. Apparently, Sub-Zero is too lazy to climb down there and go get him, so he wakes up. Apparently, after being in a coma for 4 weeks in the hospital, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, your arm was busted up real bad. We had to replace your bones with titanium." And Cole just gets up, like gets his clothes, walks out. He's like, I'm not
gonna wait for these medical bills.
He's like, and they actually make a joke about the medical bills later too, which is ridiculous. And he's like, He's apparently healing perfectly fine. We're like, what's up with that? And they don't really explain it. Maybe kind of at the end, but we'll get to that bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
But he gets up. He somehow gets to fucking Emily's house. He's like, hey, Emily, we need to look up this Sonya Blade person. And so they go on Jess's laptop. He tries looking her up on Google, but there's this random reference to like the Blade movies. and they're looking, and they finally, and then this is so cringy. Emily's like, Dad, Google's not going to cut it. We have to use the dark web. I'm like, oh god, this thing is written by someone who does not understand the internet at all.
Yeah.
And then they find Sonya's web page, which is just this cheap like flash animation site with like the Mortal Kombat theme playing, which sounds like it was made in the late 90s. And then of course the music is really loud, and then Jess walks in and just sees the picture of the blonde woman, that's Sonya, on the screen, and just thinks they're watching porn together, which is such an awkward joke. And then Emily's like, no, Aunt Jess, Dad's just helping with a project about stereotypical gender roles in the media, okay? What?
I mean, that's a good save. I mean, that's how you save that situation.
It's a good save, but it's a terrible joke.
Yeah.
Like, who looks at just random pictures of a woman on a webpage about a book and goes, porn. Yes, and I have to mention at this point, yes, this script is 100% real. I first heard about it from someone who has an industry position who read it. So I know this is real. I won't give anyone's name away or anything, but how this thing is real, I don't know. But okay, so the website, she's apparently written like a self-published book on Mortal Kombat. There's a few images of like the logo shown on murals from multiple world cultures, which I just imagine that looking really cheap and stupid. And even though they don't mention her address on the website, Cole somehow figures it out. And while he's walking out the door, Emily gives him like this braided leather necklace that she made for him, and he loops it around the medallion and hangs it around his neck and goes, "This is my destiny now." And I'm like, oh god, more sap. Ugh.
Man, this
and apparently,
thing,
even though they don't
mess.
And like I just said, even though they don't specify that Sonya's address was on the website, he somehow manages to find it via GPS, this place called Applewood Farm out in the boonies. And so he goes there, like there's like a spike, there's like all these like no trespassing signs, and like a spike trap, like fucks up his truck, and then Kano shows up and starts fighting him. Yes, Kano is in this script.
Frickin' Kano, get real, man.
And Sonya comes
out of nowhere.
Yeah, and Sonya comes out of the farmhouse and is like, "Hey, Kano, fuck off!" And so they stop fighting, and then him and Kano they compare their medallions, and the eyes start glowing. And it's like Kano's is made out of onyx instead of bronze. And so apparently in this universe, Sonya and Kano have no history together, and they're just cool with each other.
That is just.
That's
to
so
me,
wrong.
I'm like, this is wrong. This is wrong. It would have been worse if they were like love interest. You know, I would have thrown this script in the trash bin. I would have been delete. I'm not reading this anymore.
Well, they kind of teased it at the end. I won't give it away.
Yeah, they sort of
Basically, okay. Even though he spends this entire script being a dick and causing problems, Kano is a good guy. Let that sink in.
Terrible.
And it's one of those things where it's just like, I can't even imagine who would play Kano outside of Manu Bennett, and this would be a waste of him.
Who would even think? Who the hell even thought that up? Honestly, like Kano being like a good guy in this script should tell you everything you need to know about how they just botched everything. Like they cannot even get a simple story. Mortal Kombat's easy. It's simple. You know who hates each other. You know who like gives a shit about one another. You know why they're fighting. This script, it's like people just took, it's like they just heard what the game is about. They just heard character names on Wikipedia, or barely even Wikipedia. Like I bet the only research was on an actual Angel Fire website that they took and said, "Oh, see, here's who the characters are. Ah, I know what Mortal Kombat is." Fuck,
yes,
like
it's okay.
None of this is good.
And it keeps going, right? She takes him out to Sonya takes Kano to her barn, which is her base of operations, has a shitload of satellite dishes on the roof. And inside, there's a map of the world with all kinds of string connecting everything, like she's fucking Rust Cole from True Detective. And and she, like, shows him a slideshow of more murals explaining this vague concept of Mortal Kombat, of, like, oh, it's like these myths are actually reality, and we used to actually fight godlike beings to protect our world or something. And that she says that the mysterious opponents have been targeting the medallion owners, and she pulls up a list, right, of possible champions that have been killed. And there's Li Mei, whom I don't know. I guess that's what, Mortal Kombat 4?
I think it's Deadly Alliance.
Okay.
I think that's who Li Mei they're talking about, unless they got the name wrong, because I almost swear that one of these names isn't in the games, I think.
And there's Ryu Hoshi, whom I did all this research. I believe they are in the game, but I can't fucking remember. Ryu Hoshi.
Shit.
And it turns out Nightwolf is dead, and fuck you guys, I like Nightwolf.
Nightwolf's like the one that Nightwolf would have been interesting as fuck to have been in here. Like, what the fuck, dude? They didn't care. They didn't want to do anything cool or interesting.
Yeah, Nightwolf.
So that's
awesome.
why I go, let's kill off Nightwolf.
He was one of my favorite dudes in MK9. And then you get Stryker, who's another one of my favorite dudes. He's on the list, but status unknown. Then Kano's like, he's like, oh, babe, you got to update that. I killed him. I ripped it off his neck and then buried him in a landfill in Brazil. Sorry for that.
Terrible. I was mad. I was mad. Why do that to Stryker? Just have him be alive, you bastards. You cowards, I should say.
Have him be the third member of the trio instead of Kano. That would I love Stryker because of Mortal Kombat 9. He's such a badass in that game.
Right? Sonya and Stryker being at the farm, that would have made more sense than freaking Kano. Because Kano in this, he's just like some mercenary that she hired, and for some reason Kano's super good, like about, oh yeah, sure, I'll join you in this crusade. Like, I don't think at any point does, like, he's just straight through and through, and yet he's still written as like this dirty merc type. Yeah. He just goes completely against that.
He's the comic relief of this script, and he's, if anything, like, even dumber than the Kano was in the original movie, because that guy was an idiot.
Yeah, it's basically that, but a good guy in this fucking thing.
But he was a lot funnier in that movie. He was like, because Goro's like, it says that he's the prince of the subterranean realm of Shokan. He's like, subterranean, eh? Isn't that something like underground? He's like, I'm a bit of an underworld boss myself, mate.
God, he was so good, man, in that fucking scene. Because he looks so fucking scared, and he's just a dumbass and shit.
And I hate that it's one of those weird things, as cheesy as some of the effects of that movie are. His eye actually looks kind of good. Yeah,
it's just like the damn game.
Yeah, like, I mean,
I'm like, holy shit. He doesn't do anything with it, but fuck, no. Dude, at least they did that.
But in fact, he influenced the games because of that performance. Yeah. Kano became an Australian in the games instead of some random kind of Japanese guy.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was like half Japanese or something. And he was just like a dude, and it's. I think it's mostly because the actor died. That's my guess, because I don't think I don't think Kano was in the games until Deadly Alliance is when he came back, I think.
Yeah, I know it was in one of the later games that he got killed off screen. They replaced him with some guy called like Mavadam or something. I was reading.
Man, they replaced him with like two fucking. It's I think Mavado.
They
replaced him with two fucking characters. Because in MK4 he didn't even show up, but instead we had Jarek, who like had his stupid rolling move, right? That Kano does, where he just like jumps around across the screen like as if he's like a ball. And then one of Jarek's fatalities is to kill you with the I beam. Okay. it makes no sense because Jarek doesn't have any prosthetics on his face or anything, so it's just his regular eyes just shooting lasers at you.
That actually foreshadows something from this script, but I won't say what it is.
Yeah.
But okay, so the big exposition dump, and by the way, we're getting to about 60 pages into this 105-page script.
That is insane.
Yes, and
they waste so much time.
For the rest of the exposition, Sonya's like, well, I don't have a medallion, which I'm not sure how she got into this stuff, if she doesn't, how she found out about this stuff.
Oh, no. The thing is that in the script, the script tells you, she basically, I guess she was just interested in, like, you know, archaeological shit or historical shit. And basically what she finds out is that, yeah, what you said earlier, which was she began to notice that the dragon medallion is like has been seen in different like locations across the planet, and so I'm guessing the person that wrote this part was like, oh, I watched that special Discovery or the History Channel where they said, how come different cultures have myths about dragons or something, yet they've never come across one another, right? They just got the idea from that, so that's where Sonya's like, oh shit, there must be something here. And then for some reason, I guess she had to hide underground because of that, and is in the dark web and is about to publish this book. It's just, but that's basically why.
But there's also this thing about how like she was trained by her hardcore survivalist father, and so she's like this nutty conspiracy theorist survivalist person that you'd like see on Ancient Aliens. And she talks about how, like, the only way to acquire a medallion is either having it get passed down through your family or by killing its owner and taking it. And there's, like, they're so trying to turn this into a catchphrase, saying it has to be passed down by blood or bloodshed. And during this whole thing, there's just really stupid jokes where Cole's like, oh, you're crazy. Where are the cats? She's like, oh, because I'm living by myself. I have to have cats, right? And then he's like, you know you misspelled combat, right? He's like, yeah, that's how that's spelled. I'm like, this script, which is trying so hard to be like a serious story about a father's love for his daughter, is making fun of like the Mortal Kombat spelling. Like, seriously,
just dumb.
And she's like,
like,
well, Cole,
they don't need to explain that.
And she tells Cole, your father gave you that medallion to you for a reason, because something destiny. And then they and
he just doesn't want to be a part of it, and then they just keep telling him, no, you have to because of this.
All right, and so their alarms, like her tripwires get set off, the alarms go off, and Reptile shows up, and he's like turning invisible, turning not invisible, and he's attacking. Like, Cole tries to do stuff to him but completely fails. And, like, he claws out Kano's eye, and then, like, Sonya stabs him dozens of times, it says. Then Kano goes in, slits his arm, and goes, I got a kill. And there's and there's a vaguely funny bit where he's like, Cole goes, tell me, how serious is it? And he looks at the eye and goes, yeah, man, I don't think Visine's gonna fix that. It's not that great of a joke, but I got a laugh out of it just because I needed something.
It's something. Yeah.
And then it cuts to a brief scene on Outworld where there's a hooded man speaking to a disembodied voice confirming that they're hunting Earth's champions to force the tournament so they can invade. And then obviously it's Shang Tsung talking to Shao Kahn. This is not a fucking surprise, people. And then Melina just walks in, says, hey, Reptile's been killed. It says, there was another man with a medallion, and Shang Tsung's just like, what the fuck? Now this part...
It's just dumb, dude.
This part was kind of confusing to read, because, okay, they go back into the barn, and Sonya, like, rips the fucking map down, and for some reason this leaves a bunch of strings and pins up that point to a specific location in China. And Kano's like, oh, hey, I know where that is. I've been there before. I was making commerce with the natives. and also, like a bunch of cats come running out of the farmhouse, and Cole's like, oh, I knew it.
It's just so dumb, dude. They waste so much time on nothing on this damn script, dude. It's ridiculous.
Yes, and so okay,
like what is it? Nothing's accomplished.
Yeah, that's right. And so they get into an airplane, right, which is piloted by Kano's friend, which gives me so much confidence in his abilities. And so they fly over China, and they're going to parachute down, and so they're parachuting down. Like, Cole doesn't have a parachute. He's getting, like, hugged by Sonya or something.
Oh, shit, this scene.
Suddenly a storm happens, and rain shows up and starts attacking them. And, like,
yeah, he's attacking in midair, right?
Yeah, he's like teleporting around, turning into water and stuff, and eventually Kano gets the kill, but there's a bit where Sonya drops cold, he's like falling to his death, then she catches up to him and hooks him on again, goes like, "You let me fall, you bitch."
God, what a ridiculous scene though. Like they're just like falling midair, rain literally shows up with lightning and a storm, and he's just he's just like this crazy liquid form, and I'm just like, they can't even, who the heck reading this is going to say, oh yeah, we can do that with like a little bit of money. We can make this happen. Yeah. But it's just so weird. Like that's how they bring in rain. I mean, it's cool and all because like they're doing something different, yet they're still keeping it, it's still, oh, this is rain because he's a god or something. Hold on. Oh, never mind. Fuck. But yeah, just edit that part out.
Yeah,
but yeah,
rain. Like why rain? Like of all the characters, rain.
Because they needed another fight, I guess, and they were like, "Oh, we have to keep this scene where they're jumping out of the plane. So who can they possibly fight? Oh, I guess they could fight rain. I mean, at least somebody remembers rain."
Yeah, that's weird. So there's this whole annoyingly unfunny bit where like apparently they got thrown off course for their jump by rain attacking, and so Kano's got the GPS machine. He was like, "I know exactly where we're going, mate." And then eventually they're wandering around. Cole just takes the run and goes, "You have no idea what you're doing, are you?" And so they're arguing like little bitches, and then like a teenage boy named Jin shows up because apparently we needed a Tekken crossover. It's like, oh, I could show you the way to the gate to the Underworld, and leads them in the opposite direction from where they're going. There's like this abandoned village around a temple, and he's talking about how like people gave up their worship of the elder gods and stuff. And then he's leading them to where they're supposed to go, and Sub-Zero shows up, and it starts snowing, and we actually see him, but then they're like, and they shut the door and like bar it, and then they find the portal, which apparently is the door to a shit-filled bathroom. And Kato's like, "Oh, if we're gonna go to another dimension, I need to take a crap first." So he steps through the door and disappears. And so they go through the portal, and they're in the Underworld marketplace. Is there an Underworld realm in the games? Because the closest I can think of is the Nether realm, and this is not that.
Well, Outworld is another realm, and in MKX you do see, when they show up in MKs, like, there's the marketplace right there, and that's where they're walking through. So that's where my head went to. I'm like, okay, sure.
But this is,
because Outworld is, well, there really isn't like a troll market from Hellboy. I don't think there's one specifically for that. But I mean, there's like different realms in the game. So I mean, I guess. This is probably like the only thing that they added in that isn't too far from that might one day show up in the games. Because I do believe that Ed Boon looks at a bunch of this stuff and just steals from it. Like MK Conquest, there's a few things. I'm not even joking.
But so they get to this marketplace, and Jin just goes like, "Hey, wait here, don't touch anything." And so they're looking around, and we get some Easter eggs. Like, there's this one marketplace salesperson going like, "Hey, we have bladed fans said to have been invented by Princess Katana." That's the only mention she gets in this. And there's a Saurian, which is the same race as Reptile. And like Cole's freaking out, and Sonya's like, "Oh, don't be racist, ha ha ha." Also, I should mention there was an Easter egg earlier where Emily was like, "Hey, there's this movie I want to go see. It's starring that guy Johnny Cage." Only reference to Johnny Cage in this thing. Like,
why did they not just use those characters? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Like the original movie did.
Yeah, and that's the story, man. Like, that's the basic story. It's just these three people show up to fight in a tournament, and there you fucking go. But instead they have to do this.
And by the way, we are over halfway through this thing, and it's still not really clear what's going on. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, Jesus.
But Kano, he picks a fight with some Tarkatans. They're like, we served under Baraka. We don't deserve this crap. And so they get into a fight with these guys. But eventually, like, they get saved by Liu Kang and Kung Lao, who are the only remaining Earthrealm champions. And, like, Ejid's like, okay, get your asses out of here. And they take him to the clock tower from the beginning. He introduces them to this old guy called the Overseer, who is not a character. And he explains the history and function of Mortal Kombat, and he tells them about how, like, oh, you need to get 10 straight victories in Mortal Kombat in order to take over a realm, and it's this thing that's been created by the Elder Gods to, like, mediate. And he talks about how, like, and apparently it's talked about how, like, because Earth has forgotten about Mortal Kombat and toppled the temples, Raiden has run away like a little bitch. Depending on your attitude towards the Last Jedi, you can make some Luke Skywalker comparisons.
I mean, maybe.
But at least Luke Skywalker actually had fleshed out motivations for why he did what he did. Raiden here is just a bitch. And I might have just called him Raiden on accident. No, this is not Metal Gear Solid. We did not manage
it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, like, they don't even explain why Raiden, like, stopped. Like, what, like, they kind of do say, oh, people just forgot about the Mortal Kombat, but that doesn't stop Raiden from just showing up, you know, to somebody and say, hey, yo, you're in a war now, and here's why.
And
like, it doesn't make any sense.
It just raises questions about if this thing has been going on in all the world cultures throughout history, how did we forget about it?
Yeah. Just inspiration or something, and we know that Cole's dad was part of it, so it really can't be that much of a gap in between. And this is a thing that's constantly happening too.
Did Shao Kahn
it doesn't make any sense.
Did Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung set up like a giant neuralizer, like at the end of Men in Black 2, to make the entire world forget?
like if they were to somehow say something like that Shao Kahn deliberately tried to erase any of this from Earth's history, that would make sense to me, because Shao Kahn's always trying to cheat his way into, like, you know, doing like he's trying to find a loophole. He's always trying to find a loophole in the deal, you know, with in Mortal Kombat, since he's supposed to win 10 tournaments in a row before he can conquer Earthrealm. And he's always like, you know what, fuck that. Let's try and see if we can find a way to cheat the system, which always backfires anyway.
And in this one, it's like they've won 10 straight. You find out later they've won 9 straight victories, and I'm like, you know what? You don't need to cheat and hunt them down. I think you have a fairly good chance of winning, because it's revealed here that basically
I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, once again, the Overseer is like, oh, well, you know, the Outworld fighters, they're hunting down the Earth champions just to force a victory. And I'm like, do the Elder Gods suck that much that they don't even care about the rules being blatantly broken?
Yes, I would say yeah, because that's what always happens.
Yeah,
in the games and in the movies.
Yeah, because in the games and the movies, the Elder Gods are
they only interfere when it's like when they're like, let's say, you know, like how in MK9, Shao Kahn's literally about to actually interfere when these, like, they could see that the rules are being broken, but once it's like, okay, if Shao Kahn does this or whoever the fuck did this, they're about to, like, change everything. That's like, okay, never mind. Here's where we step in. So, you know, they're like super laid back. It's only until like literally the last minute that they even bother to do anything.
Yeah, both the movies and the games, they like to spout a bunch of cryptic bullshit. That's basically what they are.
Definitely.
Now here's where Overseer says how they can beat this thing, and he says you have to learn to use your Arcana, which is like a special magic ability they can learn.
Terrible.
And it's like, okay, yeah, and it's like this thing apparently anybody can do. They just have to access a specific emotion. And he also is like, oh, Sonya, you don't have a dragon, so you're not allowed to train.
That's so dumb.
I mean, of all the characters in this, Sonya is not allowed to train, but Cole, the new guy, is?
Well, he's got a medallion, dude. You can't fight without a medallion.
I mean, you made the new...
Oh, I know what it is. This is probably too intelligent coming out of whoever thought this up for the script, but I know what these medallions represent. They represent quarters, like you would use the arcade machines. It finally makes sense.
So, okay, Cole and Kano, they begin training to unlock their Arcana, and Kano manages to find his. They eventually provoke his anger, and it's his laser eye power from the game. So, yeah, it's just a magical power he has, and it only comes out of his fucked up eye. And he almost destroys the entire clock tower with it. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
It's so dumb. I don't even know how much time has... Oh, yeah, they have 2 weeks. Never mind.
Yeah, they have
I was about to say, this is all in a few hours, but I got it wrong.
It's a few days because one side of the clock only moves 1 minute per... It only moves moves a minute on the clock per day, and they have a few days left to figure this shit out. But Kano figures that he's like, I'm Superman, and he realizes, oh wait, only one of my eyes does this. I'm half a Superman. And then it's Cole, no matter what Cole does, they can't unlock it. It doesn't come through fighting and training. It doesn't come from when they put him with a blindfold on some train tracks. So fear doesn't work.
So dumb.
And they decide, let's try pain, and we're going to get Kano to beat the shit out of you. That doesn't work. and so Cole is like, well, shit, I can't do this. And he goes he gets ready to leave. And then Sonya's like, no, you gotta fight. And he goes I can't do shit. My arm's fucked up. There's actually a scene where he's fighting Liu Kang, and then Liu Kang, fucks up his wound and then rewraps it in yellow bandages. And also, Liu Kang explains that him and Kung Lao, they're from the streets. They grew up on the streets together, that the White Lotus Society took them. Which I guess is okay. They're brothers in this, and Kung Lao was mute. So Liu Kang's Arcana...
Yeah, that's fine.
But Liu Kang's Arcana is shooting fireballs, and Kung Lao's is his hat.
Yeah, he's psychically linked to the hat,
but
which I kind of like because... No, he can't lose the hat. Well, it doesn't really. No. His power isn't his hat. It's just that I think he just has a psychic ability. The only thing is that I think he just uses the hat because the hat, the rim of the hat glows blue whenever he's actually using his power. So it's just kind of neat because in the games, I think it is blue when you let's say you throw it around an MK. Yeah. Well, what is it, 2 or something? There's a blue thing. So that's it's just once again, just one of the writers going, it's in the game like this. Let's just add that in here. That's all it is.
But so Cole is...
It's just so weird.
Okay, so moving on, Cole is ready to give up because they're following the fucking hero's journey to the letter. He has to resist the call. And so Jin's Jin's okay, I'll lead you out of here. I'll show you the way home. And apparently there's a gate right across from his daughter's house. And right as Cole's about to go home, Jin's oh, by the way, this is our 10th Mortal Kombat, and if we lose, your daughter's probably going to die in the ensuing chaos. So you might want to fight anyways. I'm wow, emotional blackmail. Maybe you learned that from Heihachi.
Heihachi did nothing wrong, according to Tekken 7. All right.
I have not.
He was the good guy for 20 years.
Really? So kicking his son off a cliff to make him a man was the retcon. Guy.
No, that wasn't even to make him a man. It was to just kill him because the devil.
Tekken is stupid when you think about it, but
it got it got dumb at the end.
but Cole's hey, just let me say goodbye, and so he goes to his daughter's house and talks to her, and she's oh, Daddy, I know you can win this, blah blah blah. So he goes back, keeps training, and then The clock strikes midnight, a portal opens, and all the Outworld fighters show up in the market. And it's like, it's Sub-Zero, Melina, Cabal, who is not always a bad guy, but he is here for some reason. Here's where it gets funny. Natara, Draman, and Reiko. Characters no one gives a fuck
It's
about.
so bad. It's so bad because, like, not only do they just cherry pick the crap out of any of the bad guys or whatever the hell, but this script does not give you any time with any of these guys. You know, you never know who Sub-Zero is in this script. Like, yeah, sure, if you play the game, sure, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, Sub-Zero should just be whatever. But you spend no time with these characters. Melina, is she even like the same? Cabal, why is he here? What like blah blah. Why Nitara? Why is she a bat lady? Like Draman? Like why? Reiko? Like they're just characters. Like you're just supposed to recognize them, and that's it. They spend no time. Yeah.
I just can't take Reiko seriously because he's a man with a woman's name.
Nah, Reiko's alright, man. He's a freaking lieutenant. To Shao Kahn, his right-hand man.
With these characters, they're just referred to as demons. And because Scorpion is MIA up to this point, everything that makes Sub-Zero interesting between the Scorpion rivalry and the Lin Kuei not here. What makes Melina interesting is her relationship with Kitana and Shao Kahn. Neither of them are here. And then you have these other fuckers who are just whatever. And then, like, Overseer is like...
Yeah, it's dumb.
And Overseer is like, Shang Tsung, reveal yourself. And so he shows up, and surprise, surprise, it's the Hooded Man. And he goes like, hey, he looks at Overseer and goes, fuck you, Raiden, you abandoned your realm. You don't get to call out on rule violations. And then Jin pipes up and goes, no. I was like, I know my realm. So Jin was Raiden all along.
Yeah, and for no fucking reason, too.
Like, why?
Like, Raiden has no reason to have abandoned anybody. Yeah, why is he hiding? Why did he even bother, like, not even trying to get other warriors up to speed, you know? It's just, it's for no reason. He's just a kid for no reason. It's just like, so that they wouldn't have to spend, I guess, money on, we gotta have Raiden be in the script for a while. Doesn't even matter. Jin's barely even in this anyway. It's just a dumb reveal for no reason. It doesn't make sense.
But it's like, but you end up costing more money because you have to pay 2 separate actors. But whatever. But it's like, okay, so Mortal Kombat. So to start off Mortal Kombat, Melina throws a sigh and kills the Overseer, and it's like we're supposed to give a crap about this guy. He's like, yeah, we should. The other fighters, and Raiden's like, I will. And so Mortal Kombat in this, surprise, is not a tournament. It's just a fucking free-for-all.
Oh, yeah.
It
just happens. Oh, Mortal Kombat's here. Everybody fight.
It's actually worse than what they did in Legacy Season 2, where they were just randomly running around the island and running into each other.
Yeah, it's just that.
Yeah, there's no tournament. Come on, guys. There's a simple structure to follow here. Just look at Bloodsport, look at Enter the Dragon, and do what those movies did. But no,
exactly. Like all that. That's all they had to do. Hell, Mortal Kombat is on this world because of Bloodsport. Because they were trying to do Bloodsport the game, and they're like, oh, we can't get the license, so fuck it, let's just do our own Mortal Kombat. Like, it's not that hard to follow a story. It's just MK. You just copy whichever version of the games or the movies you want to follow. Instead, we get this. What the fuck is even this? None of this makes sense. They spend like a million pages on these characters, and like, who cares?
Yeah, and because there's no room for a tournament because they spend forever building up this convoluted bullshit. And okay, so this big free-for-all happens, and like Cabal charges at Kano, and then Cole's like, oh shit, and then tackles them into a portal, and they end up in the Louvre, and like busting into the rare weapons collection and stuff. And apparently, like, Louvre security is complete shit because they don't even show up. And so they're fighting, and what happens there eventually, this is all intercut, I'm just going to try and simplify it. They're fighting in there, And then eventually Cole manages to cut like the things on Cabal's breathing mask. And then Kano like jumps in and steals again and stabs Cabal through the head. And then Cabal drops 2 grenades. They're like, oh shit, and then jump through a portal right as they explode and kill everything. And then Sonya tried to follow them, but because these portals it's established are always reconfiguring, so anybody gets anywhere is beyond me. She ends up in like a fisherman's shack in like a Georgia swamp. And Melina's fighting her because Melina can just apparently teleport wherever she wants at any time. And they're
awful.
And they're fighting in the swamp, and then Melina goes, oh, hey, you don't have a medallion, so I don't give a shit about you. And then she leaves, and then Sonya's like, oh, hey, and then goes back through the portal. And while all this is going on, in the market, Kung Lao and Liu Kang are fighting Reiko at the same time and then kill him almost immediately. But then Natara tackles Kung Lao into the clock tower, so they're fighting in there. And then Kung Lao kills Natara. And then Liu Kang is fighting Draman and almost gets killed by him, but fucking Kung Lao has to come back and save his ass. And I'm like, wow, nice showing of Liu Kang's abilities there. He almost gets killed by Draman.
Nothing.
He almost gets killed by
fucking... With disgusting flies, right? That's all he does. He just throws flies at him. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah, he like
Draman. Why Draman?
He spits flies like Imhotep, apparently.
Yeah, because he's like a he's the only actual demon. I guess Nitara's a demon too, but Draman's like an Oni, for God's sakes. He's the only real demon here out of all of them that they call demons.
And okay, so they all end up back in the marketplace, and Sub-Zero's coming for them, and like Kung Lao somehow manages to like prevent them getting hit by like an icicle by like spinning his head around. So they go through another portal and they go to the Cliffs of Moher, which I actually had to look this up, and I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's a series of seaside cliffs on like the coast of Ireland, which have been a filming location for multiple things, and like most notably they were the Cliffs of Insanity in Princess Bride. And so this is where I formed my theory about this script, is that some producer said, hey, put all these locations in here, because they go to this, like, the Rainbow Mountains in China and stuff like that, and, like, the Louvre, and now these cliffs, and I bet some producer was like, hey, put a bunch of these locations in here, because I really want to take a vacation.
Oh, God.
Like all those friggin' Adam Sandler movies where they go to some place just so he can go there. Like they did Africa in Blended just because Adam Sandler wanted to go to Africa.
Sure, why not?
That makes as much sense to me, but okay, so they're on the cliffs and they're fighting Sub-Zero and they all get separated by ice except for Kung Lao, who's fighting Sub-Zero, and then Sub-Zero just freezes him through and shatters him. So bye, Kung Lao.
Rest in peace.
And so they're like...
Pieces, I guess.
Yeah, rest in pieces. So they're all fighting Sub-Zero and actually kind of get him on the ropes. He goes, fuck this. He goes, fuck this. Throws down an ice grenade, teleports out. And Raiden's like, you can't possibly win this. Go through the portals and buy yourself some time to train. And Cole's like, hey, this isn't so hard. We almost killed all of them. And I'm like, you're right. This doesn't seem that hard. I'm like, most of them went down without much of a fight.
Yeah, especially, like, it's just dumb. All they had to do was just send in Sub-Zero, to be honest. Because I don't even know why he didn't just kill everybody. Earlier, he was able to fucking do that without even being there. What kept him from just freezing everybody within 30 seconds? Like,
I know, it doesn't make any sense. And then Cole's like, come on, we almost did this. How much worse can it get? And then they hear a roar. And Goro comes bounding over the hill. So it's like,
Goro, fuck off.
And he doesn't even get to talk in this. Like, even in the original movie, silly 90s movie that it is, Goro got dialogue and a personality.
Yeah, right? I think they just played the first game and were like, oh, here, let's put Goro in there. He's just a monster.
And then he's like, and Raiden's like, oh shit, you guys can't fight Goro. He's too powerful. Let's all go through the portal, and then I'll send him somewhere else. But then Cole goes through the portal, and he ends up right outside his daughter's house. Then Goro comes smashing out of the portal behind him and starts kicking his ass. And then like Emily,
he just pushes him around.
Yeah.
Like, Goro could just snap him in half. He doesn't even do that.
And Emily, like, sees from the window, she comes out, and she's, like, watching her dad get his ass kicked, and he keeps getting back up, and, like, as a flip from before when she kept telling him to get back up in the ring, she's like, no, Dad, stay down, and Goro sees her and goes like, ooh, little girl. Is Goro a pedophile in this script?
He's just a monster, dude.
Because he seems strangely interested in this little girl when he's just supposed to be killing the Earthrealm champions. But then, like, he's like going after the little girl and like picks her up, and then Cole gets to his feet and goes, no, leave her alone. And his love for his daughter, which I saw this coming from the second they couldn't figure out how to unlock his Arcana. He unlocks his Arcana, shoots a kunai out of his wrist on like this long rope, and goes, get over here! Spears Goro in the heart, rips it out, and kills him. And I'm like, this script can't possibly get any worse now. It's hit the fucking nadir. Oh my god. What did you do to Scorpion?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Scorpion is just some douche.
Like, I'm glad that I knew that you told me this beforehand, like a few months ago, because goddamn, like, this is dumb.
I told you via Facebook chat, and I told Black Label via Twitter chat, because I had to tell somebody. I was like, oh god, what the fuck is this?
What a dumb reveal. Like, it's... Like, why? And why the hell couldn't they just have... It's just dumb. It's just like a dumb reveal because they wanted a surprise, you know? It's like, how many more reveals can we do? Oh, Jin's Raiden. Oh, Cole's actually Scorpion. What?
And
it doesn't make sense. Not
every single thing that's interesting about Scorpion is just gone. Him being a Spectre, his whole thing where he's kind of a good guy, kind of a bad guy, all gone. He's just some douche.
Yeah, like, it's... This whole script is an offense.
Can I just say, right, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they're mind-controlled minions of Shang Tsung in the original movie, but even that movie referred to the fact that they're actually enemies who are being controlled by Shang Tsung. That backstory is still respected.
Yeah, exactly.
What the
they can't,
fuck?
like, I don't know. And it's so simple, too. It's just easy. They didn't have to go and write this script and complicate so many things and try to like reimagine it however the fuck they reimagined it here, you know? They didn't have to do any of that. Like if they wanted like a short script with like as less of as like, because it's clearly that they didn't want to spend money on this because you don't get to see any cool costumes or anything except for, I guess, the Outworld enemies are the only ones that have to look crazy. Sub-Zero has to look crazy for what he's able to do. They even tell you that Melina has a fucking veil and shit over her face. Draman is gonna look insane. He's gonna be prosthetics and a freaking CG. And Nitara has bat wings. God damn it! And like, it's just, I don't know. I really don't know what the fuck they were doing, dude. They were just going. They were everywhere with this. They were just everywhere.
And the next thing that happens makes that even more fucked up because Raiden and all the Earthrealm champions come through the portal and Raiden's like, I did this on purpose because I knew your love for your daughter would unlock the Arcana. And I'm just like, what if you were wrong?
What a risk.
I was like, what if you were wrong and she died, you asshole?
It's just Raiden. It makes no sense. First he abandons Earthrealm, but sort of not really. And now this, it's like, goddamn Raiden. If MK9 Raiden wasn't such an idiot, you'd be the worst one yet.
I think he's worse, honestly.
Really? Fuck, dude. Like, you should, like, come on, MK9. He's like, we saved everybody, Liu Kang, and everybody's fucking dead. The city's gone to shit, and Liu Kang dies by his hands.
But no, alright, in this, all of the Outworld fighters come through another portal of their own making. And then the cops are actually showing up because cops actually exist in this universe, but then Shang Tsung like sets a force field around them so that the combat can continue. And so the massive brawl happens. And you have Liu Kang and Cole are double teaming Sub-Zero, and Kano's fighting Melina, and he like knocks her mask off, sees her mask, and sees her mouth, and goes, "I'd still hit it." And then like Sonya intervenes and starts fighting her. And then, like, Subby is, like, almost freezing Cole at the last minute, but Kano saves him with his eye beam at the last minute. But because of that distraction, Melina stabs him mortally with one of her sais, and he turns to Sonya and goes, "I always liked you. Finish me off and take my fucking medallion." And so she does. I'm like, oh my god, you just gave Kano a hero's death.
Come on, man. Like, fuck you.
The first time I read this, the entire time I was waiting for the betrayal to kick in, and then that happens, and I'm just like, "Fuck."
Yeah, right. He's such a fucking slimy, mercenary type of dude, and he's still the same character, except that he's not a villain. And the entire time you're thinking, when is he gonna betray them? When is he gonna betray him? And it never fucking happens, and he like dies as the fucking hero. Are you joking here? Like, how wrong can you get it? You know?
Yeah. And so the fights continue, and like, so Cole goes to fight, like Sub-Zero freezes Liu and Sonya, but then is about to share them, but then Cole spears him with the kunai that sticks out of his arm and goes turns on his fire abilities and like melts him and kills him. And so, oh wait, I almost forgot. Oh fuck, I skipped over this part. So Sonya gets her fucking medallion and unlocks her pink energy arcana almost immediately, and then blows Melina's head off with it. And Cole's like, "You learned that quick." It's like, "Girls mature faster than boys." Ha 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 ha.
It's so odd because now it's like, oh, I guess you do need a medallion in order to even unlock this shit, because she could have fucking done it at any time. Like, she didn't need Kano to die in her arms. Screw that, dude.
But no, and then the thing I said earlier happens where Cole kills Sub-Zero, and then Raiden's like, "Ha-ha, Shang Tsung, Mortal Kombat is over, Earthrealm is won." But then Shang Tsung pulls even more. The script still has bullshit. He's like, "Ha-ha, one Outworld fighter remains." And he points at Cole and goes, "Your father was an Outworld fighter who defected and then fell in love with an Earth woman who was Cole's mother. But when he realized they were in danger, he went back to Outworld. And because of convoluted bullshit reasons, you have to fight according to your bloodline. So Cole is technically an Outworld fighter." And there's this whole thing where Cole's going like, "Hey, Sonya, kill me. Hey, Liu, kill me." And they're like, "No, we won't do it." And then eventually it's like, then like Shang was like, whatever, he tries to steal his soul, and then Raiden just goes like, "Oh, fuck the rules," and electrocutes him. Then Shang Tsung opens a portal to Outworld, takes Sub-Zero's body, and then goes through it and leaves. And then Raiden's like, "Hey guys, the war isn't over, we need to get new champions." And like Cole like says goodbye to his daughter and some shit like that. And then mid-credit scene, and Cole and Sonya recruit Jax, who got fitted with his robot arms. I'm like, why is that your mid-credit scene? You couldn't show us Shang Tsung?
More stuff. No, we gotta spend even more time with Earthrealm.
You couldn't show us Sub-Zero get resurrected, which you know they would do because can't kill the mascot off. You can't show Cole get his scorpion costume, as stupid as that would be. Can't show us Shao Kahn. Can't show us anything. No, you gotta show us Jax. As much as I like Jax and the robot arms, it's like, why?
It's just awful, dude. They just tried to do nonsense. God. It's bad. Everything's bad about this.
But you know what's sad about this? This is 105 pages long, which would be an hour and 45 minutes, roughly, if you go by the page-to-minute thing. The original movie is 101 minutes. And it still tells more of a story, stays closer to the games, with reasonably well-defined character arcs for the mains. And it came out in 1995 and was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
I just don't understand it, man. That it's dumb. Like it boggles the mind that they wasted so much time on nothing in this fucking script and did all this shit. Like, that's how it ends, setting up for a sequel that nobody's gonna want to watch. Like, if this movie got made as it is, nobody would want to see another one. I wouldn't. I'd be saying after 20 years of waiting for a third movie, this is what we get. Fuck that shit. I'd be like, no, it's no good. All right, this whole story about how all the champions are being killed off and shit. All of this is just Mortal Kombat Conquest did that better than this fucking thing. Because at least MK Conquest still respected the source material. Shao Kahn was being a shady bastard by trying to do shit to kill the fucking Earthrealm champion, Luke Kung Lao, for God's sakes. And like train for the next tournament. Kung Lao had to like find other fighters for the next tournament. Meanwhile, he has to be like watching his back every 2 minutes because you never know when there's going to be a goddamn assassin showing up to fuck the next tournament up and have it be in Outworld's favor. Like, this is just the same thing except that it doesn't tell you anything. Nothing is said. Sonya Blade, I've been looking at stuff. She doesn't explain shit. She doesn't explain anything. Like she has a book that's gonna be published on freaking like what Amazon, and no one tells you what's going on here, you know, like I guess it used to be a tournament of sorts because you kind of get that Coliseum opening at the beginning and people are like, I guess they might know that it's happening, but then at the same time it kind of feels like that's not really a part of Mortal Kombat, and Longhair just shows up to the meeting of guess what guy there's this evil realm that's gonna fucking kill everybody. We need you with a fuck that has been stabbed to almost death to be a part of this. Like I don't understand. Like MK Conquest honestly did a fucking better job than this, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
The script is just, it's nothing. It's just stuff happening for 105 pages, and they can't even get the fundamentals of Mortal Kombat right outside of the 10 Mortal Kombats in a row thing.
Yeah. It's dumb. It's so easy to fix too. Like, you know, if you want to do this script, why not just like have the overseer, right? Be like the narrator of the story, or have Raiden be the narrator of like the opening scene, right? And right there, you could easily just explain, oh, this is the story. This is Mortal Kombat, and here's what's going on. You know, you can, and there you go. 5 minutes of that, and then you just do the opening credits. And then you have whoever the main character is going to be. You just do that, and that's it. And then just follow the same basic storyline that Mortal Kombat is. Don't try and like change it up to like Mortal Kombat in this script does not really happen until page 80 or something. And close to that, I think.
It's like 80 something, and then it's like 20 pages of just fighting.
Yeah, and it's stupid fighting too. Like none of it is just awful. Like they just go through portals, and those are the matches. And for some reason, it's always 1-on-1, and until like the very end, where we gotta team up. Goro shows up, but he's not even the mini boss. You know, he's like some fucking monster. And then Sub-Zero's the mini boss. He's the one that they all fight at the end. Are you kidding me?
Like I don't understand what's supposed to be so hard about this fight, because they all go down in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really dumb. Like if they were if this script was not, because you would think that they would be smart enough to say, oh, guess what? Mortal Kombat's not going to start until later. And then you just have all of this crazy batshit cheating asshole Outworld stuff happen, right? You could say, because this script tells you, oh, Mortal Kombat begins. But that's stupid. You could just save that for the next movie, you know? And then just have this be shit that's going on before it starts. So you could say, oh, fuck Outworld. They're assholes. Look what's happening. We gotta fucking... They're breaking the rules before shit even happens. Like, it's so simple to just like change a few things. It's dumb. The movie did a better job bringing in a new character, like that one that one guy who's like a boxer, and him and Johnny Cage meet up at the docks in the movie. That dude's not in any of the fucking games, and yet there's your Cole Turner. That's probably where they took it from.
That weird guy Liu Kang fights who growls like a leopard. Like, who the fuck is that guy? I don't know. But you know what this is?
Yeah.
This is like the Street Fighter the movie with Van Damme version of Mortal Kombat. Almost completely unrecognizable.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because I'd
rather watch that than read this.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. Because at least that's like sort of halfway there to the source material. Like you have all of the characters show up too. Like fucking Sagat is just some shady, I guess, businessman who sells. He's an arms dealer or something, I think. But he doesn't do any fighting or anything. But he's there in this. Oh, Johnny Cage. Oh, he's just a guy that's in a movie that I want to watch, Dad. Oh, Kitano, look at this shit. Look at this, like cheap mock-ups of what she actually uses here. Pay a lot of money for it. It's just stupid. Cole shouldn't be a character. What for? Oh, I want to do a surprise for Scorpion. Fuck that. Are you kidding me? They should have just done Mortal Kombat Rebirth the movie. That would have made more sense to do instead. It was already set up anyway. Oh, freaking Scorpion guy. We need you to track down Sub-Zero. Oh, okay, because there's this crazy tournament that's happening, and it's the only way we're ever going to capture Shang Tsung, right?
Yeah.
What was wrong with just following up on that?
Yeah, you can get Spawn and 7 of 9 in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is just, I'm going to say this, the only way to fix this reboot project, right? Throw everything out, start from scrap, which is, because I think James Wan, who's producing it, will be like, yeah, this is stupid. What they should do, right? Go to Gareth Evans.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
But what they should do is
James Wan has had too much time already.
But like, go to Gareth Evans and be like, hey, you and I know that the DCEU is fucked and that Deathstroke movie is probably never going to come out. So just here, work on this Mortal Kombat movie because you have a better chance than anyone else does.
Yeah, it's so easy. Like you can hire anybody who's done any tournament-esque straight-to-DVD movies to direct this fucking thing. They do it. They can do it.
Or Vengeance, guys, if you have to.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Because they would do you could get anybody to write this goddamn movie. It's not that hard. I could write this movie today if I wanted to. It's simple.
We should.
Yeah, the fucking. You know what? Even the fucking animated VHS tape that came out before the Mortal Kombat movie did. Just do that. Just do that. That shit did more like in an hour than this script did in the same amount of time. You had Liu Kang, Sonya, freaking Johnny Cage on a boat. Scorpion comes in to like mess with them. Shang Tsung's like, ah, ha, ha. He's just laughing. He's just laughing the entire time because he's an asshole. And Raiden's like, Shang Tsung. And then, oh, Mortal Kombat begins. Oh, we're on an island. Oh, look at all these characters. All these characters that you sort of know, but you don't know, right? And freaking Raiden's just walking around the island, talking to the three main characters, and he's telling them, oh, this is Mortal Kombat. Oh, the Sub-Zero. Oh, you've seen him. That's Sub-Zero. He's enemies with Scorpion, the guy who tried to attack us on the boat. And then they give you like a CG sequence where Raiden is telling you why Sub-Zero are assholes to each other. And there's a fight that happens. And Goro shows up, and then Raiden even tells you a backstory of Goro. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, okay. And then there's this crazy fight that happens where all these Tarkatan warriors show up and Baraka shows up. And like then Mortal Kombat begins, Mortal Kombat begins now. And I cannot help you any further, right? Because it started. That's a far better fucking introduction. That should have been this movie. That's all they had to copy. Because Mortal Kombat doesn't even start in that VHS animated tape. It's a prologue to everything, and that is much more satisfying than this. It's an embarrassment that these dudes that they couldn't get the quality up to that. Mortal Kombat Conquest is the same damn story, cheating Outworld assholes to prepare for the next tournament, and everybody comes out.
I just want to say this,
right? Go ahead.
I want to end this by saying one thing. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I want to apologize because now I appreciate what you did so much more. At least you had the bad guy from Cobra screaming, "This is glorious," and ridiculous, silly special effects, and you were kind of sort of recognizable as Mortal Kombat. This script cannot even lick the feet of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I mean that in total seriousness.
Not at all. Because at least that movie followed the rules. That movie followed what happened in the fucking games, for God's sakes. Like, I think it's in between MK 2 and 3 or something that Johnny Cage is fucking dead. Fucking Annihilation comes out. What happens? Johnny Cage dies. Cool. Like, everything. Like, they care. They cared enough to, like, not brush anything off to this, almost anything off to the side. All right. They even freaking did Motaro. They didn't have to fucking do Motaro. Nobody wants Motaro. I mean, like, it's so weird. Like, that they even bothered with Goro in this. Like, why? Just throwing Kentaro instead. Fuck it. You're gonna do shit differently? Do that.
You'll appeal to the furry crowd. But yeah. I don't think we can top the apology to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so I think we should sign off here.
Yep, exactly.
That was this, and what the fuck, guys? That's this whole script in 3 words. What the fuck? So, until next month when I'm covering another video game series, probably by myself, bye.
Woo!